Hi, and welcome to another Abilene People podcast, the podcast here on BigCountryHomepage.com, where we talk to Abilene's most interesting people. And today we have borrowed one from the Metroplex, who I think is Abilene's most interesting media mogul of all. I mean, you're the most, who could compete with you? Maybe our GM, Vice President Albert Gutierrez, but he would say, no, it's Perry Sook.
The most interesting media mogul in this room today, right? Okay.
Perry Sook, you are
it.
the chairman of the board of directors for Nexstar Media Incorporated. You are known in Abilene as the guy that bought KTAB-TV back in 1999. Nexstar Media did back when you were a small company. We're going to talk about the growth.
Sure.
But why is a town like Abilene so important to you, and what do you love about local TV?
Well, I started the company almost 30 years ago with a focus on stations that do local news, and the opportunities in the early days were in the medium and smaller markets. And so, as Dad used to say, you have to hunt where the ducks are, and so that's where the acquisition opportunities were. And by the way, I told people that maybe turned up their nose at that, hey, the money's just as green in Abilene as it is in Dallas. I just can't afford anything in Dallas right now, so we'll build the company, over time, and which we've done. But local stations in medium-sized markets, and we're in every market in Texas, with I think the exception of Victoria and San Antonio, and that'll change with our pending acquisition. But Texas has had an appeal. I've lived here since 1985, moved away to start two companies, moved back both times, and so got here as quick as I could. But it was easy for me to look at stations, that were close to where I was, and I knew the former owner from radio in Pittsburgh in the 70s, and so opportunity preparation and opportunity meet, and so we were able to make a deal that was good for her to sell and good for me to buy and add to our small portfolio of stations back then.
And you're from Pennsylvania originally, right?
From Western Pennsylvania, yeah. My first job in this business was in radio in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, which is the home of the groundhog. So we were famous one day a year. But again, I moved here in 1985, and from the Northeast, where it was sleeting and cold and like 30 degrees. And I got down here when I stepped off the plane at DFW, and it was a 70-degree bluebird day. And I said, what took me so long? So fell in love with Texas and been here ever since.
So I'm obviously not going to tell you anything you don't know, but TV stations like KTAB and KRBC that you operate through Mission Broadcasting, the anchors that have been here such a long time, men like Bob Bartlett and David Bacon, our viewers locally think they're members of the family, They
Correct.
know them because they've seen them on TV for so long. So I guess the question is, what kind of important role, from your perspective, do men and women who commit to live in communities and bring communities to the news every night? I mean, they're more than just people who read the news on TV. I mean, they're important key players in the community, right?
I make that point in Washington all the time, and I make that point with investors that these people are personalities in and of their own right because they're on television, they're recognizable, but they live in the community. They go to the same grocery store, they go to the same department store, the same car repair shop as the viewers do. And so viewers have an inherent bond because they say he or she is one of us, lives with us, is like us. And so they have credibility that national news anchors, that unless you live in the Upper West Side in New York or certain parts of D.C., you may never see in person or in real life. And so it is a valuable commodity. I would say in the medium and smaller markets, when there are fewer choices, those anchors and notable talent, reporters, otherwise, weather people, have a real ability to be a difference maker. If they host a charitable event, people come out. If they say, we need to generate money for this cause, people will give. And so our job is to continue to build that trust, make sure that the journalism we produce is fact-based and never undermines that trust, but it's also to never take it for granted because, the TV audience ages, our anchors age. We also have to continue to bring younger people into the system here that may not, be accustomed to watching news. They didn't sit down and watch Walter Cronkite at 6:30 every night or 5:30 every night. So we have to continue to reinvent ourselves while making sure that we respect and continue to nurture and develop the trust anchors and the trust that we have in the community.
And so if local TV is the foundation, I think I've heard you say that that's why you felt NewsNation, which is a national news channel,
Right.
that it could be successful because you had the foundation of hundreds of local TV stations and you could rely on them for the news. In fact, I think the one example is if there's a tornado in Moore, Oklahoma, your local affiliate is right there. And not every national news program or channel has that luxury, right?
Correct. I think one of the biggest motivating factors for me in deciding to create NewsNation was the day that Kobe Bryant died. His helicopter crashed into the side of the mountain. It was a foggy day. There was a helicopter in the air that was taking footage of the crash site that CNN was on for 7 hours straight. It was our helicopter, KTLA, the station we own in Los Angeles, was providing that footage to CNN. So what if they just provided that? What if we created a channel, they just provided it to us? We have more resources in the country, more local journalists in the country than any other news organization on the face of the earth. So let's put them to use, because in Moore, Oklahoma, like you said, when the tornado goes through, our reporter can be there, knows the names of the public officials, knows who to contact, knows the street names, can pronounce everything correctly before anybody else can charter in a jet to bring somebody in from New York or DC or Los Angeles. And so there's a real strength in local, and the foundation of everything we do is local. And so NewsNation was just an outgrowth of laying that on top of the solid local foundation that we had already developed through the company through its first 25 years.
Now, when you talked about a moment ago about the local anchors and how involved they are in the community, you've built that into the culture of Nexstar Media because your stations are deeply involved in community events, in charity. Right now, bigcountryhomepage.com, the platform the podcast will be on, is involved in an annual program called Jackets for Joy, where upwards of 1,000 coats are donated, cleaned by a local partner, distributed to local agencies. I mean, how important is that to you? And if you would just speak to Founders Day and why that's a big deal to Perry Sook.
Well, I think first and foremost, if we're a service industry, service business in a local community, making money from viewers that spend time with us and advertisers spend money with us, it's incumbent on us to give back to those local communities and support charitable organizations. Again, our employees live in those communities, and those organizations are important to them as well. And so if you're going to be a good partner in a local community, then you can't be half in. And I would argue that big tech does absolutely none of that in terms of sponsoring events or fundraisers or anything like that. So again, that is one of the things that helps cement our trust in the local community and our place in the local community. So, and our stations, we operate 200 TV stations, and they all have ongoing charitable, and civic activities across the course of the year. When we turned 20 years old, I said, listen, I don't want to throw a big party. We can't fly all these thousands of employees in or anything like that. But what could we do to commemorate this company and the fact that it stood for 20 years? And so I came up with the idea of Founders Day, which the company was founded on June 17th, 1996. So as the Friday that's closest to June 17th, we basically said to all of our employees, we'll give you a half day paid time off to do service work in the community. I'm not going to tell you what charity to do. I'm not going to tell you, where you have to go and what you have to be. We want the local stations employees to decide what charities they want to support. They want to go paint a fence. They want to go read to third graders. So, they want to pack backpacks for underprivileged kids. It's not parish charity, but all I can do is I say, I'll give you the paid time off. And this is like one more thing you can do in your communities, but, we're happy to pay for it. And I've been very pleased at how that has grown. About 45% of our employees participate in Founders Day. And it is everything from cleaning out the kennels at the Humane Society to reading books to picking up litter in a park, but we let the local teams, and they've gotten really into it because in the local markets, they'll develop their own T-shirts and their own logos for Founders Day. And it's a chance for somebody in engineering to actually spend time with somebody in sales, or journalism spends time with somebody in the business office. So it's been a team building experience as well. But it was meant to say, listen, this does not take away from all the good work you do in your communities every month of every year. But here's one day a year where the company will pick up the tab for you to go out and do some more. And that was the way we celebrated and giving back to those communities that actually made the company what it was 20 years ago. And so we've done it now for 10 years straight.
Well, it's a beautiful thing, and those numbers, 45%. That's about what we have here. Maybe we top 50%. It's one of the most I don't know, anticipated events of the year. It's a big deal, and we love it. And it's funny, every example you gave, we have recently done. Picked up litter in a park, and we read to kids and all. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and that is baked into the ethos of local TV. Again, because big tech's not doing it, and we have an opportunity. What do you think the secret sauce is for local TV to continue to not just survive but thrive?
I think we have to define TV differently, right? TV can be a video podcast. It can be the 5, 6, and 10 o'clock news. It can be a diginet that we develop that has different content verticals of subjects of interest. It should be all of those things. And what we shouldn't do is say, well, we got a TV station, we've got a website. We have a local content organization and a local business development organization, and they should use any or all of these platforms to distribute the content and distribute the advertising message, and not be constricted by, well, it's got to be on the 6 o'clock news first. Well, no, if news breaks at 2 in the afternoon and we don't have a local newscast, then it's got to be broken on whatever platform we're on at the time. And so I think of it as video and defining TV as anything we do that is video, and it should be distributed across as many platforms that make sense for the viewer and as many make sense for the advertiser. I've got 3 kids that are all under the age of 40. They all watch a lot of TV, but they don't necessarily watch appointment TV, right? They'll watch it when they have time, or they'll see something a story we've done that's trending, and they'll probably go to social media to see it. And as far as I'm concerned, that's okay, right? We've got to reach younger viewers and bring them into our ecosystem, realizing that our content has value. And no, Netflix didn't create that content, or YouTube didn't create that content. KTAB or KRBC created that content. And maybe I can go there more than I go to these other sites. I mean, we're fighting a battle against big tech, but we can't ignore them and just pretend they don't exist and say we're only going to put things on the TV station or on our TV station website.
And most of our hits come on social media when Travis, our producer, will post a clip of a quote from Perry Sook. And of course, our hope and goal is that translates into them coming to watch the entire podcast. But I don't know, organically, we've been doing it. To hear you say it is refreshing. And there's just so many streams that we can access if we think bigger than just traditional linear TV. And I've heard you say that today in the couple of presentations I've heard. And so I guess maybe as we close, that's kind of the conversation. What do you think the future is? You referenced earlier that there's an acquisition that Nexstar is involved in, and that's tied up at the federal level. But obviously, you're deep into those conversations. What will be the benefit for a community like Abilene, Texas, if Nexstar acquires Tegna or other TV station companies?
Well, specifically for Abilene, there's a Fox TV station here whose local news comes from Midland, Odessa. We own TV stations there as well, but the opportunity to make local news truly local, would be the immediate benefit, and to be able to put news on at times when KTAB and KRBC are in network programming and can't do local news. So again, maybe somebody getting up for work doesn't have to be there till 10, is not going to watch our news 5:30 to 7. Maybe they'll watch it 7 to 9, because it's available on another platform. And so that's an immediate, benefit, kind of small in the scheme of things, but maybe not to the folks that find that newscast of value. Put a 9 o'clock news on when we're in network, and now you can watch local content in Abilene at 5 to 7, 7 to 9, 5, 6, 10, 4, 9, and it expands our shelf space of giving our content to our viewers. So I believe that a local service business that provides content that is essential to a community and helps local businesses sell things will always be in business, and we have to focus on that as the what we do, as opposed to how we do it. I also believe that local broadcast television is the last bastion of local journalism in most markets. Newspapers are a shadow of their former selves. Local radio may do traffic and weather together, but they're not doing a lot of local news. And so there's a benefit to the country to have a free and independent press. And I think the last bastion of that is local journalism. And so you need big companies, strong companies that can compete on a level playing field across the entire country, as opposed to just a predetermined percentage of it, that can own multiple stations in a marketplace and not just a certain arbitrary number, because big tech is after our advertisers, our programming, our people, our sports rights. And to compete on a level playing field, I've got to get as Nexstar, our company needs to get bigger and have more reach. Otherwise, we're never going to be able to compete on a level playing field, and they'll continue to take more and more of our lunch money until we don't have anything to eat.
Last question. You started your TV ownership in Scranton, Pennsylvania, in an old department store building with 2 TV stations.
Right.
There's no way you could have stood there in Scranton in those days and said, you know what, here in just not too many years, I'm going to be chairman of the board of Nexstar Media, and we're going to be the largest TV company in the nation. There's no way you could have. But did you have dreams like that?
No, I think the company, where we've evolved to today are beyond, my wildest dreams. Now, the bigger we got, and when we got to what I thought was going to be our wildest dreams, I just kept moving the goalposts. But the desire was never to be the biggest. It was to be the best local steward of news and information in the marketplace, at a place that people, not only that I was proud of, but the people were proud to come to work. And hopefully we've created some of that ethos. But no, I never thought it would be, the size and scope that it is. But having said that, I think there still should be opportunity to grow even beyond our pending acquisition of Tegna. So we're not done yet. So we'll just keep looking for good deals that are good for shareholders, good deals that create more opportunities for employees and more opportunities to serve local communities. And that's been our game plan for 40 years or 30 years. And hopefully and I think we're better at it today than we were in that first acquisition back in 1996. And we've learned along the way. So again, hopefully we do a good job of serving our communities and get rewarded that way.
I love it. The best steward of local TV, local news. I love it. That's a great way to look at it. And if you happen to be the biggest, well, that is what it is. Not a bad dividend.
That wouldn't be bad either.
All right, sir. Thank you for being on the podcast.
You bet. Thanks for having
Harry
me.
A. Sook, Nexstar Media. Very impressive. I can tell you're familiar with a microphone and a camera. You didn't seem nervous at all. And I'm sure that you weren't nervous watching either there. We appreciate you joining us here on BigCountryHomepage.com, Abilene People. A big shout out to Travis Corrigan, our ace producer, TC, we call him, because he's always taking care of business over there at the switcher board. We have a lot of fun here, and today was a lot of fun with Perry A. Sook, chairman of the board of Nexstar Media. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time.